Talk 60. I sing to God with my might. The most fundamental principle in the path of the Rebbe. It is possible to bring him back into Teshuva. Know that it is necessary to judge every person favorably, even one who is completely wicked. Search and look to find in him some bit of good, that there he is not wicked. Through finding in him a bit of good and judging him favorably, you truly lift him to the scale of merit and bring him back into Teshuva. Teshuva, even if you don't see him at all. By judging him favorably, you elevate him. You can bring him back into Teshuva. Do we really hear what the Rebbe is saying here? Let us consider. I do not speak to that person. I do not see him at all. He is found in some distant land. When I completely negate him, I don't find in him any good meritorious point. I thereby completely close for him the path of Teshuva. All the doors of Teshuva are closed before him. It is not so when I judge him favorably and find in him a good point. Where is he then? Only far off. But if I discover in him some merit, I open the door for him, and he has complete chance to do Teshuva. Since the door is not closed, it is open. It is, if beckons him to enter and draw close to his Father in heaven. The path of the Rebbe opens the door to all. The Rebbe says wherever some thought of Teshuva is found, it is taken from the purest of the pure. Why is this so? For the Rebbe in his holy path judges everyone in the scale of merit. He finds a point of light in each Jewish soul, no matter what circumstances. He so opens the door of Teshuva to all. He shows each one how to do Teshuva. The Rebbe reveals that by the power of speech, or even thought alone, one who totally negates another completely closes before him the ways of Teshuva. Opposite this, if I find good in him, even if he seems to be very far from merit, I open for him the possibility of coming back in Teshuva and drawing close to God. So much that it is possible through this practice to draw the entire world close to God. We who know of this secret have extra obligation to increase thoughts of Teshuva and to even bring the whole world back in Teshuva. How great is the responsibility upon us! The tremendous loving kindness of learning merit. In truth, it is a great act of loving kindness to always arouse the quality of loving kindness and not arouse the quality of harsh judgment. Not upon oneself and not upon others. Not only relative to oneself, also concerning others. Think and speak only from loving kindness and mercy. The advice of the Rebbe to judge favorably is simply loving kindness. Because you open Teshuva up to him, is there any greater eternal loving kindness than this? He has many Ba'alei Teshuva. We find that when a person acts with this quality of judging favorably, it could be that he has many penitents dispersed around the globe, yet he knows nothing of this whatsoever. He has no idea that through him so many people came back in Teshuva, for indeed, through him that he judged favorably, he paved the way for them. Through this they were able to come back in Teshuva. The first law in Likutei Halachos. We see that Moharanat opened his compilation Likutei Halachos, specifically with this topic. The first practical discourse is based on this lesson, Likutei Moharan, the lesson of Ahadjabismis, Azamra, Hishahama Chosha Sochi, the one that the Rebbe directed to go meet with. Moharanat had tremendous feeling for this fundamental advice, and he used it to open his magnum opus. He saw in it a foundational path in the way of the Rebbe. Not to treat any person disparagingly and not to negate any Jew of Israel, because then is no despair whatsoever. Through this, it is possible from afar to open the paths of Teshuva and bring many people to the service of God. Which is not the case if I give up on him or treat him negatively and close the path of Teshuva. What a great crime! How many people have you already brought close through this lesson? It is told that when Moharanat spent time in the city Brod with his disciple Rabbi Nachman Tolchin, he learned before the congregation this lesson, Azamra, with fervor and inspiration. In midst teaching, he heard his student Rabbi Nachman whisper to himself, my Creator, meaning that the matter taught is clear and simple, that indeed it is necessary to carry out and practice. It is certainly imperative. I judge everyone favorably, and to look at people with only eyes of loving kindness. So it really is, Moharanat called towards him. Is it so simple? Pray tell how many people you already brought close to God through this lesson. For as said, through judging favorably, one takes the person at hand from demerit to merit and helps him come close to God. How can we be together with the wicked? If the skeptic will ask, behold, it is forbidden for us to join the wicked. And if this person that I want to judge well is completely wicked, isn't it forbidden to join him? As brought, that it is forbidden to live with a wicked person. However, this does not come to allow actually connecting to him, for it is prohibited to live together with him. It is even forbidden to enter his house and drink wine with him and eat his bread. Such a person is not to be joined even in thought. The whole connection with him is only spiritual, meaning that all of my thought around a bad person is only to seek and find the divinity and good that is still found in him, where he is not completely wicked. Our whole relation to a wicked person is to the godly part of him, to make the divine spark still found in him shine, to turn him into a penitent. This is well explained in the words of the Rebbe in Likate Moharan. There he explains the verse, they were all turned back, Tehillim. Even when I see a Jew who completely turned away from the Holy One, blessed be he, nonetheless, I still need to be with him, to unite and bond with him. For there is an aspect of godliness even in the lowest rank, even in the 10 crowns of impurity. For behold, his dominion is over all, Tehillim. Even the lowest Jew certainly has divinity inside. Through this I can be together with him. Although he is completely turned back, I still have to be together, for he is still not separate from divinity, whatever the circumstance may be. Because even in him there is some aspect of godliness. Only mercy and loving kindness on oneself and others. The quality of loving kindness is something that a person should always go with. He should never set forth the quality of harsh judgment by any means. He should always see only good and judge everyone favorably. Even in oneself, see only good points and do not consider yourself wicked, despite the fact that you well know the low place you are in. How you are filled from head to toe with destructive traits. Nevertheless, the Rebbe teaches us that one should never negate himself. Because if someone will cancel out and judge himself to be completely bad, he will not be able to do teshuvah and draw close to God. By seeing only bad in himself, he closes the way completely. Similarly, one should see only good in others. It is a quality of loving kindness. The way a person should walk at all times, in all circumstances. Moharanat, a man of loving kindness and mercy. We see in the entire life path of Moharanat, in his lessons, directives, prayers, letters, in all of them, he stirs only learning merit and uses only words of loving kindness. That one should always draw himself only to the quality of loving kindness and not to the quality of harsh judgment. Because it is not at all plausible to run things through harsh judgment. Mercy is embedded in the foundation of creation. Besides that it is forbidden to act with the quality of harsh judgment, it is actually impossible, for it destroys the world. We see that already when the Holy One, blessed be, he first created his world, he came to the conclusion, it has to be made and run by the quality of loving kindness. As brought in the words of our sages, at first it says, God, the name of harsh judgment, created, Breshi smiley face. For he initially thought to create the universe with harsh judgment. But he immediately changed. As it says, on the day God, the name of mercy, created. Ibid, he joined mercy with harsh judgment. For he knew that the world could not endure if it would be run through harsh judgment. How far mercy goes. We see something deep in the words of the Rebbe in Likutei Moharan. There is such a unification above that requires a high standard. Even if someone is completely holy but is only slightly flawed, he cannot make this unification. See the commentary Mei Nachal. Nonetheless, the Rebbe tells that the mercy of the Holy One, blessed be He, is so great, even if He is distant from holiness, the righteous still includes Him in it. See the might of your Master. This is part of God's mercy, that He runs the world with loving kindness. He lifts up a person who has only 1 point of merit and brings him to a very high place, to such a lofty unification. Loving kindness in running the home and with people. So a person should behave in his home, with people, in business, etc., to talk and act with a good spirit and with loving kindness. He will receive a full flow of loving kindness from above. If one behaves in a way of anger and is exacting about everything, his home is filled with harsh judgment. Accusations can be easily stirred on him and his house, God forbid, because he drew harsh judgment. Whereas, if he runs things from loving kindness, his home is filled with the blessing of God. So I received from our people of the past generation. One who is not merciful cannot be a leader. So it is in general. One is not able to lead the generation with the quality of harsh judgment, rather mercy. We find that Eliyahu the prophet lived in a generation of completely wicked people. They were under the rulership of the wicked Achav. It was a generation of heretics and idolaters. Eliyahu did not find any good in them. He said, "They abandoned your covenant." Melachim, smiley face. He thought that through their dreadful heresy, they were completely severed from the Lord of Israel. As if, God forbid, the covenant that binds them to their Father in heaven was nullified. Nonetheless, the Holy One, blessed be, He said to him, "You say, they abandoned my covenant. I will show you that every Jew circumcises his son. You will have to attend every circumcision covenant and see with your eyes that every Jew is still bound by the covenant of God, and demonstrates this by circumcising his son. But since you said this, you can no longer be the leader. Ascend to heaven, Elisha will take your place and lead the people." As written in the Midrash, Eliyahu said, "The children of Israel abandoned your covenant." What was said to him, "Anoint Elisha ben Shaphat as prophet in your place." It seems to be astonishing. What is the complaint against Eliyahu in saying, "your children"? Behold, it was true and proper to say at that time, for they were actually all idolaters. But the specialty of a leader is that he is able to find a point of merit in even the most wicked person. He is even able to reveal a spark of light in thick darkness. This is a true leader fit for his name. A leader is not allowed to say, "They abandoned your covenant." A Jewish leader has to always rule in a manner of mercy and loving kindness. When he said words of harsh judgment about Israel, the Holy One, blessed be, he was upset and told him that he could no more lead, and Elisha would take over. Eliyahu went up to heaven, even though he himself ascended and went very high. And he went up with his body, something that we don't find by any other person. His place is in the loftiest supernal realms. Despite all this, in this world he can no longer be the head. A leader who says to the Holy One, blessed be He, "Your children abandoned," forfeits the chance to lead, even if his observation is right. We see that the Holy One, blessed be, He wants a leader to be merciful. As the Rebbe writes in Likutei Moharan 2, on the verse, "One who has mercy lends them." Yeshaya, smiley face. One who is merciful is able to be a leader. The One above wants all Israel to come close to Him. There should be as many penitents as possible. A leader who has pity makes this happen. With mercy he brings many souls underneath the wings of the divine presence. But if he does not rule with mercy, he has no connection to leadership. The theft Yom HaKippurim Eve. Maharanat once said to his men an inspiring talk about the issue of learning merit, a talk that extremely fired up and stirred those who heard its message. In midst his words, Maharanat got excited and said, "I have by me such a talk about learning merit that one who hears it can come to real nullification of free will." Among the listeners was a certain Jew from Vilna who had chanced upon the place. He also exhibited signs of inspiration from the lecture of Maharanat. When Maharanat finished his words and people went their way, the man from Vilna approached and said to him, "Rebbe Nissan, I heard such a talk from you about learning merit that it blew new life into me. Master, please know that I feel myself totally lost without any spirit of hope, in utter despair, severed and lost from both worlds. When I heard the message of your words, which are built upon foundations of Torah and Halacha, hope sparked in me, but I feel that I have to pour out my heart before you. He told Moharanat the essential matter of why he was in total despair and lost in his own eyes. I was from the inhabitants of Vilna. I even prayed in the house of prayer of the Gra. That house of prayer was extraordinarily elegant. It was especially noted for its decorations, ornaments, and crowns on the Torah scrolls. They were made of pure gold, laden with precious diamonds and pearls that were worth a great fortune. It is understood that the local thieves set their eyes on those precious caches. Therefore, guards were set over them. They protected all of the alleyways and entrances to the house of prayer all hours of the day. The house of prayer was not left unguarded for a moment, so that robbers should have no angle to approach. But the thieves were not idle. They worked their brains over looking for a plan, when they might nonetheless be able to break in and steal these treasures. It is self-understood that the entire year, with the premises so well guarded, it was impossible to even think of breaking in. But a scheme occurred to one of the thieves. To execute the theft on the eve of Yom HaKippurim, the holy day itself, while some who stay in the house of prayer to recite psalms throughout the night at times doze off, this might be a chance to pass such great wealth into their possession. So indeed did the thieves of Vilna. On the day itself of Yom Kippur, they plundered the treasures of the house of prayer and took them all. In the morning of Yom HaKippurim, when they took out the Torah scrolls and wanted to adorn them with their glorious crowns, the people immediately noticed that they had been stolen. The decorations were not in place, and everything was opened up and dispersed. Terror and trembling gripped all who were present. What happened here? How was it possible to steal the holy utensils, and furthermore, specifically, on the holy day? Tremendous wrath filled the heart of all. Among those who prayed, there were great Torah scholars and righteous people. Without hesitation, they placed serious enactment of distancing upon the criminals. In the written document of this, it stated that it applied both to those who executed the crime and to those who were involved and did not disclose. So the one telling said to Moharanat, "Even though I was not from the criminals who executed the crime, but I was from those who know the secret and did not reveal it. It comes out that I am demoted and distanced by the power of a strong enactment on the holy day by great men of Israel. From that day the matter drills a hole in my head and does not allow me any rest. Even many years after this Yom HaKippurim, I feel that my life is not life." No ray of light and spark of hope was in the heart of the man from Vilna all those years, from the theft of Yom Kippur over. He went around lost in despair, without thinking that a day would ever come when someone would remove this stain from his soul. He concluded, "But now, when I heard this amazing talk, a spark was lit in my heart that perhaps my hope is not lost before God. And there is a good chance that I could be freed from that painful enactment." He requested that Moharanat absolve him. Moharanat labored over this. In his great genius, he found him a halachic allowance. He arranged for him a path of teshuvah for his rectification. What he said to him is not known. But this is known. That person left Moharanat satisfied and happy in heart, with his spirit restored to him after so many years of despair and turmoil. Who can stand in the quality of harsh judgment? This is the amazing power of our Rebbe, who opened for us a path of learning merit on others, on oneself, and in general the path of learning merit and loving kindness, and a good eye. A path of strengthening and renewal, always walking in the way of loving kindness, with no harsh judgment at all. Our sages say in the Midrash that the Holy One, blessed be, he says, "If I would act with the quality of harsh judgment, even Avraham, our father, would not fulfill his obligation to me." Also, Yishak, our father, even Yaakov, our father, Moshe, our Rebbe, too, would not fulfill his obligation towards me. No creature would come out meritorious. If so, I am obliged to act only with the quality of loving kindness. If the Holy One, blessed be he, goes with loving kindness, it is certainly incumbent upon us to emulate his attributes, learning merit with a good eye to fortify and strengthen oneself and others. Only this is the fitting true path, the path of the Holy One, blessed be he. Behold, God desires that his children come close to him, and that they should come back in perfect teshuvah to him. The Rebbe writes explicitly that by judging others in the scale of merit, one opens before them the doors of teshuvah, like a light feather on a garment. Let us ponder. A person in this world is but a feeble creature. If the Rebbe said about his great righteous disciples Rabbi Nisan and Rabbi Naphtali that they are as but a feather on a garment, which is easily blown off, what can be said of us, only weak people? Is it possible to judge such weak creatures in the scale of demerit? We are in a state of constant danger. For the adversary lies in ambush for one who merits to be by such a Rebbe in a special way. He gazes at him without interruption. Therefore, even if we see those who didn't hold on in the harsh war and who were wounded by the evil inclination, it is forbidden to judge them in the scale of demerit, and certainly not to offend them. In Uman 70 years ago, our people went around with burning hearts for God. They tore and broke through the burial place with their tears. But the adversary, woe, he attacked them very much. He did not let them alone. They were people with a burning heart for their Father in heaven. On the other hand, they conducted fierce battles, such dreadful wars until it appeared that the evil inclination left the whole world and ranged only on them. A constant battle, and in war there are casualties on both sides. How is it possible to look down on those who here and there got hit when so many fled and didn't want to fight at all? Tremendous love for a sinner. How? The story is known that one of the disciples of the Baal Shem Tov had an only son who he loved very much. Once the Baal Shem Tov approached him and said, "How much you love your son! God loves the greatest sinner many times more. It seems beyond comprehension. How could there be love for such a decrepit person who sinned and incurred death penalty from the Torah of God? How can God love him so much?" But the explanation is that our Father in heaven, the merciful Father, really wants even a scoundrel like this to come back in perfect teshuvah. He does not want him to go through the severe punishments due. This great love is impossible to describe and fathom with our lowly mind. It has no comparison whatsoever to the greatest love that a father has for his only son, the great love among those who learn merit. When we go in this path of learning merit, love is found by men of the tzaddik. For not did the Rebbe say, "The world will be astounded by the love that rests between my people." Which love did the Rebbe mean? When one walks in the path of the righteous and fulfills his advice, including judging favorably. Incredible love, true, sincere love. Such a love that each one just wants to see the good in his friend and learn from the good points that he doesn't have, to arouse teshuvah through his friend. In general, hate is stirred when I hold myself better than my friend, but when I know that my friend has something good that I don't have, I need to receive this from him. It is one of the 3 points the Rebbe spoke of from the foundations of Jewishness. Just like there is the general point of the righteous that we need to receive, so each individual has a good point that I have to receive. When I speak to my friend, I have to receive his good point. He also receives my good point that is pertinent to him. They receive from each other. About they call to one another, Yeshaya, which says by the angels, Targum Yonasun renders, they receive from each other. How is this hinted to in they call? And what do angels receive from each other? The matter is, what do angels see in each other? They only see how other angels run in tremendous longing for God, to sing before him and the like. When the angel sees this, he thinks that this manner of running in fervor and desire is something that to learn from. This says by the angels. The Rebbe explains how this speaks to each individual. We need to know that there is a point in others that I don't have. There rests holy love. In that point there was no breakage. Because if the breakage was complete, even in this good point, teshuvah would not help. Rather, most certainly there is in each one a holy shining point that was never broken and will never be broken. But it is incomplete. It was damaged through sins, but it is never completely broken. Something is always left of it, and that point is the source and power to do teshuvah. It is also teshuvah for despair, because the whole reason why a person falls into despair is because he was smashed to pieces. But the truth is that it is not so, not in the least. According to what the Rebbe explains, in that point is left the light of loving kindness. Automatically, I have a point to repent from. From here, there is always left a way to learn merit on someone else. This is the entire path of the Rebbe. From it, we need to draw and aspire. If we so practice, we will also repent and return to God as is fit. Tremendous holy love will rest among us. Each man will learn from his neighbor. For when we probe, we will always discover the good to be learned from another. It is a tremendous defect to only want to be a giver. The main work of a person is to be a receiver, to receive the good point of his comrade. If he will receive, automatically he will give. With this is understood how they call to each other, hints to the Targum, they receive from each other. For when one calls and speaks to another in the aforementioned manner, friendly talk and brotherhood, they certainly receive from each other. The solution and healing for each person. How imperative is the practice that comes out of this lesson, Azamra. As I said, not for naught does Rabbi Nachman begin his innovations in the Torah of the Rebbe with this lesson. Because Rabbi Nachman knew and appreciated its tremendous significance. The Holy One, blessed be, he wants that we should not speak of the defects of any Jew. He wants that we should seek and search for the good in every Jew, so that each one should come back in teshuvah. As a Chassid in this lesson, that through finding the good the door is open so that he can come back in teshuvah and draw close to God. Similarly, this advice helps a person himself get closer to God. It also aids the individual to refine his traits. For each person is plagued by bad qualities, according to how much each heart knows the bitterness of its soul. But you have to be strong and seek merit inside and not think that you are lost. And to know that you can completely change your bad nature. Since one was accustomed to bad traits for so long, you have to know that there is good in you. For it cannot be that there is no good at all. If one looks with a good eye at the good inside, he can certainly improve and change for the better. Everything depends on strengthening. Rabbi Nachman of blessed memory spoke of the great necessity of strengthening, for it is the essential path of righteous people. Only through it did they advance and ascend in serving God. He spoke up and said, everything depends on strengthening. Amidst this, Rabbi Nachman enumerated the names of many righteous people. Why did this righteous person come to this special level? Because he had this type of strengthening. And why did another certain righteous person come to his level? Because he had such a sort of strengthening. And why am I like I am? This too is only because of the strengthening I have. Why does a person's level depend on his strengthening? Anyone who fears God wants to advance and get closer to God. Big righteous people cannot bear to stay on one level. They need to eventually make progress. Like the Rebbe teaches, that the real elders of the generation are righteous people who add knowledge and holiness every single moment. But when they want to climb up from rung to rung, the adversary stands in front of them to accuse and make them give up. Until, here, you cannot go up anymore. Suffice with what you have. Because of this, it is imperative to always have strengthening, to fortify and strengthen oneself. Not to be affected. If I want, I can go higher. This quality of strengthening is not only for great people, but also for those on a low level, like the Rebbe says about secluded prayer. It is for the greatest and the smallest. Each one needs strengthening. Someone on a low level needs strengthening, so that he does not go lost and can still do teshuvah and draw close to God. Even if the damage he did is very great, like by people such as us, this strengthening is very simple. I want to get a little better. I want to be a little more clean and pure. a bit more beautiful before God, that I should not be sunk for a whole life in empty desires. Even this little bit does not go for me. The solution to this is only strengthening, not to be discouraged. The Holy One, blessed be, He will help me, even though I have many deficits. I am already commanded to judge myself favorably. In truth, I am not completely bad. Despite everything, I have the positive points of doing mitzvahs. Or at the very least, I have not lost the desire to draw close to God. This learning of merit is itself strengthening, through which I will be able, with the help of God, to completely get out of the darkness I am trapped in. For we are promised that there is no such thing as despair, and no outcast shall be cast away from you. Shmuel. I am certainly included in this. The unique love among our people due to learning merit. The principle is, in every situation, on every level, strengthening is a must. It is an essential part of the Rebbe's path. Rabbi Nachman's magnum opus Likutei Halachos innovates in the Rebbe's Torah. He understood with his holy mind that it is necessary to start it with this lesson about strengthening. Because in his eyes, this is the foundation of the entire matter of the Rebbe. When we acquire for ourselves this quality of learning merit and strengthening, whether on others, whether on ourselves, we will see with our eyes the Rebbe's statement fulfilled. The world will be astounded at the love that rests among us. Because what is a greater expression of love than judging someone favorably and only seeing good in him? Over such love, people will indeed be taken aback and astonished. Householders and those who recite psalms. On the holiday of Shmini Atzeres, the Rebbe conducted a special table for simple householders. To this table, those close to the Rebbe and his students did not come, only the simplest people. After this, with the dawning of Simchas Torah, they were accustomed to accompany the Rebbe underneath a glorious canopy with dance and joy. Only then did the Rebbe's students join to rejoice and dance together with the Rebbe and the householders. On the householders' table, the Rebbe gave a special talk for them. The disciples of the Rebbe were very curious to know what he was saying to those people. When the Rebbe saw the tremendous desire of his close disciples, Moharanat and the rest, to join this table, he piped up and said, "You are not able to bear the words that are then said." This was also the practice by the Baal Shem Tov in the city of Medzibos. On Shmini Atzeres, he would conduct a table for householders. The holy disciples were not by any means allowed to join this table. The simple householders in Medzibos were by this table, people who recited psalms. Among them were psalmsmen, very simple people who barely knew how to read the words. There was a very big house of prayer in Medzibos. In winter it was very cold there. The inhabitants did not take care to heat this large space. This house of prayer was exempt from a mezuzah, like the law of a house of prayer that is set solely for prayer. People would finish praying and go their way, whereas the simple people pledged their time to pray there and complete the whole book of Psalms every single day in that freezing house of prayer. They were called by the simple title, Psalmsmen. The Baal Shem Tov sat together with them on Shmini Atzeres and spoke words according to their level, whereas the holy disciples did not come until later on Simchas Torah Eve. They were surprised and asked their holy master in astonishment, "What can our Rebbe say to such simple people?" Instead of answering them, the Baal Shem Tov directed them to each grab onto the shoulder of his friend strongly. The holy Maggid of Mezrech held on to the shoulder of the Baal Shem Tov. At that time, the Baal Shem Tov made Mara soul ascent Ram Siri. He flew up to the higher realms with his students. Together with the Baal Shem Tov, they entered the chamber of David the king, the chamber called Hachadosim Pachad Dachav Bisaral, the Psalms Palace, Bisham BC Hobisi Gatorah Leonum. They saw and felt the divine vigor that flows from Psalms. Such an intense, awesome light that they felt their souls leaving from such intense cleaving and supernal delight. At that moment before their souls left, the Baal Shem Tov brought them back down to this world. He said to them, "Nu, do you now understand the worth of those who recite psalms? Know that all of the beauty and splendor that you saw in the upper realms flows from them. Regret gripped the heart of the followers for having thought lowly of these people who the Baal Shem Tov brought so close. The Holy One, blessed be, he wants us to look for good points in his children. Once, a traveling lecturer arrived in the city of Rabbi Pinchas Koritzer to bring hearts of Israel to Teshuvah. In midst his talk, he also wove words of reproof and admonishment in full measure. Rabbi Pinchas turned to his friend, Rabbi Michael of Zlachov, and said, "Why does he reprove them so much? He should look how such impoverished people as them come to the house of prayer in winter in such cold, while snow covers the earth in torn shoes without proper winter clothes. And so they do day by day with self-sacrifice. Instead of weighing upon their hearts words of reproof, he should open the holy ark and scream before God. Master of the universe, you have such precious children. They deserve that Mashiach should already come to redeem them." This is the power of righteous people. To demonstrate how cherished and beloved the simple people are in the eyes of the Holy One, blessed be he. He wants very much that we should seek and search for the good points in them. This makes pleasure before him. Every precious stone you find, put in the crown. The Rebbe finishes the awesome lesson, Kol Yehoshua, with an amazing analogy from the Midrash and the practice that comes out of it. This can be compared to someone who found his friend making a crown. He said to him, "For who?" He replied, "For the king." He said to him, "Since it is for the king, place every precious gem you find in it." Each Jew is like a crown for God. It is necessary to place in him whatever precious stones to be found. That is, to strive to seek and search after any angle of merit and good doing that can be found in him, to judge favorably, because they are like a crown for God. Rabbi Nachman found this matter so fundamental that he started his great Likutei Halachos with it. Upon it he based tens of pages, proving how vital Torah principles depend upon it. Talk 61. Don't consider yourself wicked. Although wicked, come close to the righteous one. I heard in his name of blessed memory, even if someone is not a kosher person, nonetheless it is very good for him to draw close to the righteous. About this the Tana changed. Do not consider yourself wicked. Even if someone is wicked, God forbid, he should not look at himself that way. Rather, he should also strive to get close to the righteous, to at least have some chance of a good ending. The German who did not observe Shabbos. Let us imagine, what would we do if a Jew who was a clerk in some office on the holy Shabbos entered our house of study, desecrating Shabbos publicly, God forbid. And immediately after he was busy writing on Shabbos, he is not ashamed to come to the house of study. Moreover, everyone recognizes the ink on his hands from having just finished writing. What would we do with this Jew? Would we immediately throw him out like a dog? He was writing on Shabbos, intentionally. Everyone knows this. And he further has the audacity to enter the house of prayer in the middle of the Musaf prayer, with hands soiled by ink. This story actually happened by Moharanat. There was a Jewish clerk who publicly profaned Shabbos. He was called the German VT. He would sit on the holy Shabbos itself, like during the mundane week, writing for his job as city clerk. The house of prayer of the city did not allow him to tread on their doorstep, therefore did he come to the house of prayer of Moharanat. When they came to holiness of crown on the day of Shabbos itself, everyone raised their hands in lofty spirit. This German also lifted his hands up. Is there anything worse? What a deep pit that person was sunk in. The people of Moharanat's house of prayer wanted to throw him out and scatter him to every direction. Moharanat prevented them, saying, "Please do not disturb him. Pay attention and listen. Even though he is a dreadful Jewish sinner. But why did he nonetheless come to us? He did not come for nothing. It appears that something draws him specifically to our house of prayer. Please leave him alone." What ended up happening to that German? He transformed into a true penitent, a fiery Breslover follower. Moharanat expressed that in the world to come, they will boast of him before the throne of glory, what the soul of a Jew is able to attain. Many years passed. One Saturday night, when the followers sat together to tell stories of the Rebbe, the German was already one of the group. He sat with them and joined the uplifting follower dialogue. He heard that one of the followers wanted to ask for an easy livelihood by the Rebbe's burial place. That elderly German who had raised hands soiled with ink of writing on Shabbos jumped up as if bitten by a snake. So did he say, "I already go for 40 years to the Rebbe on Rosh Hashanah. All those years I never had the audacity to ask the Rebbe for sustenance. Is this all that I lack? Am I only lacking sustenance to ask from the Rebbe? For so writes the Rebbe, even if one is wicked, do not consider yourself wicked. Try to be close to the righteous, so that at least you will end up good." The end of the butcher of Uman. I remember that varied characters went around in Uman of our times. Those who went through what they went through, but those who merited to be close to us, his end was good. In Uman there was a Jew who was a butcher, one who sold meat by weight. He also looked like someone who was a butcher. He would come to our house of prayer and set himself a corner. In the winter, he fixed his place by the heater. He would waste time there. He would even say things that a delicate person could not bear to hear. They didn't know how to get rid of him. Some wanted to forcefully remove him from the house of prayer. Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman, spoke up and said, "He came to us. Do not disturb him. Despite everything, he feels obliged to come to us. Don't do anything to harm him." So said Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman. He pleaded with those who came to our house of prayer in Uman. How did that butcher end up? Years passed, and he went to America. His children there wrote this to us in a letter. What happened to our father there in America? He turned into a follower in the full meaning of the word. He would claim to the followers who went to his house of prayer, "This is how you pray. I knew people who really prayed. This is how you act." I witnessed how the servants of God in Uman behaved. Indeed, that light-headed butcher returned to his maker. He departed with a good name among God-fearing Jews in America. Even if, God forbid, you are wicked, don't remain alone. Do not look at yourself as wicked. Then the end will be good. It will certainly be good. In fire and water. The War of the Groom from Lodza. I remember a certain young man, a groom, who came from Lodza in Poland. They called him S.H. He was from a wealthy family of prominent lineage, great righteous people. His wedding was conducted by us in Russia, but he was not successful in the match, and it did not end up well. He was someone very sensitive with a great mind, and she was not at all compatible for him. As a byproduct of the matchbreaking, he had an awful fallout from Judaism. It is impossible to describe the change that occurred in that young man. Even though a heart of fervor for God burned in him, but on the other side of the coin, he was subject to terrible deterioration, God forbid. On Rosh Hashanah, he was from the guests by my table. That young man, S.H., also joined the discussion and spoke words that fired up hearts for God. Passionate words that shook all hearts. With fervor and inspiration that is hard to describe. But the great wonder is how one person was composed of two opposite people. For he only left the back door of the house and he already turned into someone else. Someone in danger each moment, God forbid. His soul, which was pure in its root, could not come in terms with the dirt that became attached to him. He would go and cry such screams to God that he should take him out of the depths of the husks that he had fallen into. "I am burning alive," he cried from the root of his heart. "I am burned from what happened to me. I feel as if a fire burns within me, as if a flaming angel stands on my heart and is ready to burn and consume me alive." From his intense screams, it looked like he was prepared to leave the world, just to get out of this harsh battle. It was well known how his heart burned for his Father in heaven, but it was also known how he was in a state of constant dreadful battle, and in war you get hit. He would prostrate on the burial place with such screams and roars, "Save, God! Save, save! I am going to be burned alive! Ha!" So was that S.H., whose source was holy and pure from elite lineage, great righteous rabbis, but it is impossible to describe what he went through. Nevertheless, despite the tremendous fall that he went through, they did not look at him with eyes of judgment. Rather, they judged him favorably and did not, God forbid, offend him. Everyone knew of the strong fire that was raging inside of him, and they learned merit on him. For this reason, he was left in his Jewishness. In the end, he was gathered for the sanctification of God's name together with multitudes of Jewish people. May God avenge their blood. Don't associate with the wicked, but bring him close. We should remember and not forget that this path was inherited to us by Rabbi Nachman, so that we should also practice it. Not to go with claims and accusations on this person or someone else. Not to see any bad in any Jew. Instead, to find good points in each individual, whoever he is. Let it not seem as if the Rebbe meant to alleviate the severity of the sins of the wicked, or that we can stay together with someone that it is forbidden to talk to, and certainly not to bring home one who might even prohibit drinking wine he touches. Most certainly not. It is forbidden to compromise and budge from the laws about how to treat sinners, because the Torah is an eternal Torah. But what? It is necessary to show that I don't hate him. On the contrary, I am trying to love him. I have a clear purpose in learning merit on him, for so am I commanded. In this way, we take him out of the darkness and the sinking ship that he is trapped in. We bring him another handbreadth closer to God, who specifically desires teshuvah of the wicked. Talk 62. Care in monetary laws. Not to touch a penny of another. What about money? In Uman, there was a certain wealthy woman who feared God. She was once involved in business transactions with Rabbi Moshe Breslover. He owed her a nice sum of money. This woman looked for a chance to meet Rabbi Moshe to remind him about the money. She heard that he prayed as leader for afternoon prayers on the day before Rosh Hashanah. She decided that it would be a good time to remind him of the debt. On the day before Rosh Hashanah, as it got late, she waited for Rabbi Moshe at the door of the clois. When he arrived, she called to him only one word, "Nu," meaning, "Where is the money?" Some of the supporters of the congregation who understood what was going on inquired about the details of the debt. They promised to give the money immediately after Rosh Hashanah. She calmed down. Let us consider. Rabbi Moshe Breslover. Do we have any idea who Rabbi Moshe Breslover was? He was a righteous person, a scholar, someone who grasped divinity. From the lions of the group of the disciples of Rabbi Nachman. Despite all this, when he owed her money, that righteous woman approached him directly without shame on the very day before Rosh Hashanah and demanded what comes her. Nu. Leader of the clois, a righteous person, someone who served God, and a scholar. But what about the money he owed? By the way, once a great sum of money was stolen from Rabbi Moshe Breslover. What to do to restore the money? He sat down to learn Likutei Halachos, the laws of Sarma'i stealing, Filius Steinbram. The money was immediately returned to him in a wondrous way. Be careful not to have debts. The Rebbe warned us very much not to have debts, not to borrow money. The practice to live through borrowing is a terrible illness, physically and spiritually. Debts are counted among the things that prevent teshuvah. As the Rebbe writes in Sefer Chamidos Teshuvah, one who wants to repent should take care not to owe. Our people would say a nice interpretation. If a person believes in the words of the Mishnah, repent one day before your death, repent today lest he die tomorrow. If so, how can one go and borrow money from people? Who knows what may happen to him, God forbid. Therefore, debts withhold teshuvah. Rabbi Levy Yishak would say, my whole life I never wrote any credit in a store, even from one day to the next. Only when a person obtains from borrowing can he be careful that someone else's penny is holy in his eyes. Is it clean without any stain? There are matters that need to be addressed. Even if a person is a righteous person and a scholar, holy and pure, from the masters of spiritual account, it is still imperative to make thorough investigation from time to time. Is his money absolutely his? Are you totally clean of any stain of touching someone else's money? Are there no questions about your money? Is there mixed with your finances something that belongs to another? If it becomes clear that you have to return something, return it on the spot. Do not keep money that is not yours, even for a short time. Before strife breaks out, avoid any negotiation and conflict, even if you think you are right. Return the money and prevent problems. If you are in doubt, to whom does certain money belong? On the contrary, be stringent. Give back more until all doubt leaves your heart. Pure air through pure money. Our Rebbe says that through charity the air becomes clean and pure. Every talk of the Rebbe, each statement, is a healing gift, an amazing remedy to spiritual ailments. The lessons of the Rebbe are a spiritual drugstore. When learning some lesson or talk, look into it deeply. Descend to the depths of the matter to know specifically what you have to do, so that the remedy should work and do good. Be exacting, in the words of the Rebbe at least, like people are exacting about taking medicine. Therefore, hear well what the Rebbe says. Through charity the air becomes clean and pure. Meaning, how can we make clean, pure air rest among us, the people of the righteous, without a warm wind breaking out? Through giving charity, it is imperative to strive that calm, clean air rests relative to our friends. Start by being extra careful not to touch someone else's money illegally. That is that. And to also ponder everything in relation to others, small and large, whatsoever it may be. If you are acting properly, whether in monetary matters, whether in general offenses, not to make nothing into something, to take good account of the day's occurrences in these matters too, we need to know that relations between people are not nothing. This is not at all something trivial. It is something foundational from the main matters of being Jewish. And nothing helps for this, not rolling in the snow, fasts, and mortifications. When there is a monetary question, it needs to be resolved according to Torah law. There is no other solution. We need to pay attention to what is said. When the air is not calm and clear, the topic is not heard. This is simple and clear. When hands are not clean in finances, calm, clear air is not produced. Automatically, one does not hear the words the righteous says to us, to each one of us. Another's money, the soul depends on it. It is necessary to be extremely careful in monetary laws. Rabbi Moshe Breslover was a scholar and a righteous person. When he owed money, that woman knew that he was pure and holy. She wanted him to fix this. She called, "Nu, what about the money?" This is something that the soul depends on. Someone else's money. It has no rectification and solution except to completely return it. May God help that we be complete in this fundamental matter. Solution in merit of standing tests. Is known the story of the Rebbe's student Rabbi Shimon. The Rebbe once lent him money. He got caught in a bad deal and was left owing the Rebbe money. One day the Rebbe spoke about it and said, "He deserves to be banished." Things happened. It was from God. Through business he traveled far away and wandered very deep into the depths of Great Russia. There raged thousands of kilometers where there is no idea of any Jew and Jewishness. He had no possibility to return to his place by natural means. 3 complete years he wandered in the huge region of Russia. Rabbi Shimon was the first disciple of the Rebbe. He was tremendously holy and pure. He strayed and wandered in a strange, distant land to be tested. Since he was handsome, a certain Gentile woman from the big shots of the government attacked and tried to seduce him. Rabbi Shimon, the holy Rabbi Shimon, seeing the circumstances, knew that it would be difficult to avoid her. He stood up and with great power grabbed his lip and ripped it deeply. Much blood immediately broke out and poured on his beard and clothes. She could not stand before the great self-sacrifice of Rabbi Shimon. Seeing this, she left him alone. At that time, when he withstood the great test with self-sacrifice, the Rebbe sat with his followers. He spoke up and said, "It is a pity on him. We have to take him out of there." Indeed, immediately after this, things came about, and Rabbi Shimon left and returned to the Rebbe. Rabbi Shimon was holy and pure on such a lofty level that the Rebbe testified about him that his name hints to his nature. Shimon is the letters void of sin. We see from here that even Rabbi Shimon had to go through a difficult rectification relative to monetary matters. He got caught in a problem and ended up wandering in exile for 3 years, until by merit of the test that he stood in with supernal power, he merited to return to the Rebbe. May God help that we listen to the voice of this Rebbe about everything that he says, and that we fulfill all his advice, and that we do not veer from his words right or left, including the severe directive to take care in monetary matters. Talk 63. The benefit of suffering, God forbid. I heard that one of our people was complaining a lot about financial lack. Our Rebbe of blessed memory said to him, "I don't know how you dare disturb me over empty worldly matters. Behold, I am but one who goes day and night in the wilderness looking to settle it, because each one of you in heart is on a desolate wilderness. It is in no place. Do not sleep, you go down. Strive the whole time to make some rectification for your body, to be a house for the divine presence. Behold, how much work it takes to make a wood tree, which we call dovim, into nice utensils fit for human use. How much toil does this require until it is chopped down and cut to size and fixed with a saw and other necessary tools? Exactly like this I have to work with each one of you to make some rectification, and you disturb with empty matters? Chaye Moharan. When a person needs advice, he should ask righteous people and their disciples. Through this, harsh judgments are sweetened, and one merits to be saved from suffering. Even if, God forbid, he is subject to suffering, he merits to receive it in love and joy. He merits to see revelation of divinity, how God constricts himself, as it were, and clothes himself in them, and how suffering brings him great good and tremendous loving kindness. Chaye Moharan. The main devotion, accept suffering properly. Once a powerful, well-to-do man at the beginning of his elderly years came to the Baal Hatanya. He told his master that he wanted to abandon all his business affairs and be totally busy with Torah and prayer. The Baal Hatanya replied, "You should know that until the Baal Shem Tov, the most important thing was learning Torah. From the time of the Baal Shem Tov on, the most important thing was devotion. Whereas now there are those who the Holy One blessed be, he says to them, I don't want your Torah and service. I only want your suffering." So answered him the Baal Hatanya. Indeed, many trials passed over that Jew. His entire devotion was to accept them properly with a good heart. He was successful by the guidance of his master. Nothing greater than accepting suffering properly. A person mourns over his pain. He says, were it not for suffering, he would learn and pray and serve God much better. Although you should ask and pray that suffering be speedily removed, but as long as it is there, accept it properly, knowing that from Torah and prayer you will not derive benefit like accepting suffering from the one who desires your eternal good. As long as the pain is strong, it is a great advantage for a person. He has to be strong and think, I damaged and caused God pain in this and this. How good it is that he cleanses and purifies me by means of suffering. Better here than there. David the king says in Psalms, a song of David, when he fled from his son Avshalom. Tehillim smiley face. The Gemara asks, a song of David. It should be a lamentation of David? The Gemara explains that he was running from his son, and in general God has mercy on father. So he sung. But the Zohar has what to say about this question. David the king was concerned about being caught for sins there in the next world. When he saw that his son Avshalom wanted to kill him, he became filled with joy and busted a song on it, despite the fact that his son had rebelled against him, which is the greatest problem. But the main thing is that he was being reckoned with here and not there. Automatically, he was sure that he would no longer be punished there. He was so happy that his fear disappeared. About this it says, a song for David. Therefore, when a person sees that suffering comes upon him, God forbid, and he is going through a lot, he has to be happy to see clearly that they are cleansing him here. And it is certainly better here than there. When things go well without problems, there is place to be concerned that they want to reckon with him there. Behold, I have a bundle. I have a bag of problems that needs to be fixed. Perhaps, God forbid, they will only open this bag there. Therefore, on the contrary, if things go well, then you have what to be worried about. Even though the power of prayer is extremely great, and it can accomplish by God, including that he cleanse and polish you without suffering. But these words do appear in the Holy Zohar, that David the king was very concerned lest they leave the reckoning for the next world. Nothing removed the fear until he saw suffering come upon him. Moreover, which problem? That his son is running to kill him. He was filled with joy, because he would finish accounting here and not there. God forbid to be depressed. A person has to be strong in faith and joy in even the most trying times, knowing that through this he is being cleansed and purified. If he gets depressed from the pain, this is a strong defect in faith. As the Rebbe says, depression is a very bad trait. It is in the category of idolatry. 2 benefits of suffering. The Rebbe writes in Likutei Moharan, the suffering that comes upon a person is either to purify him or to remind him to do teshuvah. Both are of tremendous benefit. If they come to cleanse, how much more beneficial it is. They clean him up so that he comes there pure and spotless. Can we imagine how good it is for a person to come there clean and polished? If they are to remind him to repent, it is also a very great advantage. There is no place for a person to have complaints and grievances over his suffering, since it is all for his ultimate good. Why did this come upon him? Because this is not the way to ask a person if he wants to suffer or not. Just like a doctor does not take counsel with the patient about what to do. If he needs to cut flesh, he does it without hesitation, for this is his healing. Even big righteous people are not asked whether to give them suffering or not, and they go through suffering of love. Because the Holy One, blessed be, he is the true healer. The free, faithful healer does not ask, he does what he needs to do for the sake of the eternal benefit of he who is in pain. Do not advise the doctor how to heal. The Holy One, blessed be, he is the source of good and mercy. He wants a person to come to the world of truth after completing what he has to fix in this lifetime. How to fix him, in which way he is to attain his eternal good. Concerning this matter, they do not ask the advice of the patient. As said, the doctor who is busy healing knows better, but he needs, at times, he finds it fitting to heal through pain. It is clear to the doctor that he is acting solely for his benefit, and it is not possible to say to a doctor that one is ready to be healed only without pain. Faith should be so strong and powerful that I believe that whatever passes over me, whatever God does with me, is only for my benefit. Since I do not know what is the remedy, I don't know what I destroyed and what I have to fix and how much to fix. Therefore, I accept what I go through properly. This will certainly help to heal me. The main thing is humility. The warrior in the story of the Master of Prayer only wanted subjugation. Our people explain the warrior to be an allegory for powers of constriction, harsh judgments, and suffering. The whole point of powers of constriction and harsh judgments is only to subjugate the heart to his blessed name. For when the warrior comes to a person, he reminds him to be submissive to his Creator, to nullify pride and ego, and be subservient. And so we find in the reproof of the Torah, the end of terrible rebuking is, then their uncircumcised heart will be subjugated. Vayikra smiley face. Because the entire intention of reproof of the warrior is for one purpose, subjugation. All harsh judgments are only to subjugate the foreskin on the heart. Subjugation is the most effective means of fixing the soul. We find by Achav that he was a horribly wicked, but as soon as he demonstrated a little subjugation, he was forgiven for half his sins. First, do all that is in your power. The Mishnah says, if I am not for myself, who is for me? If a person will not be concerned for himself, who will be concerned for him? However, when one is close to the righteous derives tremendous benefit from his devotion. But first, he has to do whatever he can, or at least be humble over his lowly spiritual state. Then the righteous can help and make rectification. A Jew once came to Rabbi Nachman of blessed memory and brought him a small coin as a redemption for the rectification of his soul. He gave the coin and immediately turned to go, for he had no time to talk. Rabbi Nachman knew the man and the many things that had passed over him. He called him back. "Please don't run away. Pay attention and listen." Rabbi Nachman began to remind him of forgotten things that he went through. "Do you remember that right after your marriage you bore harsh poverty, and you promised God that if He helps you would not forget Him? What happened? In the end, you completely forgot God who saved you. Further on, you went through this and that, varied trials, pain and difficulty. You promised to get better. He saved you again, and you forgot Him again. You passed through many kinds of falls, until today. Now, with your present problem, you come to me and think to fulfill your obligation with a small coin? You're turning me into a hired worker. It seems that you hired me. I am working for pay. You are paying me to work for you. And you? The point is for you, not me. You yourself are obligated to do something. You are obliged to change. But what? I will still help you. Do what is in you power, and I will do what I can for you. Go to a sage, but ask from God. The true righteous one knows a person better than he knows himself. He knows what passed over him in this lifetime and in all his lifetimes. He knows what he faded and what he still has to fix. In Likutei Moharan, the Rebbe brings the Gemara, anyone who has a sick person in his house should go to a sage to ask upon him mercy. Our people were exacting about the terminology of our sages. If it means that the sage should ask for mercy on his behalf, it should have said, go to a sage so that he should ask mercy for him. Whereas the wording, ask upon him mercy, implies that the sick person himself asks for mercy. That is, he should do two things. 1. Go to a sage. 2. Request mercy from God. Our people explain what our sages mean. When one goes to a sage at a time of trouble, the sage will tell him to ask mercy from God. Why are you silent? Before he comes to the sage, he is still not so cognizant that it applies to him and that he himself needs to ask for mercy. He makes all kinds of effort and attempts to get out of his problem. Only when he comes to the sage does it shine to him that indeed the reason why they sent him the problem from heaven is for his own sake. Through this, he will realize that heaven wants something from him. Automatically, he will turn to God and ask for mercy on himself. His salvation will be close. If you had true regret, you would not suffer. During the life of Moharanat, there was a Jew in Breslov who did business that was not kosher by the government. Rabbi Nachman warned him to cease his black market affairs, for the rabbis enacted that the law of the government is law, and it is so forbidden by Torah law to conduct such business. But he could not prevail over his evil inclination and continued. As time passed, he was caught and put in jail. When Moharanat came to visit him, he groaned and screamed, Rabbi Nachman, woe to me, I regret not heeding your voice. Not at all, Moharanat pushed him off. Now you also do not regret. All your regret is because you were not successful to hide well your black market affairs, and you were caught. Not because you transgressed words of Torah. If you had screamed, I made a mistake, woe, I would have known that your regret is true. That you regret having transgressed the Shulchan Aruch for the sake of monetary gain, and not just pain over the mistake that you were caught and thrown into jail. When a problem or sickness comes, scream, Master of the universe, I deserve the problem, for I caused you pain. I didn't listen to you. Righteous is God, for I made it bitter by transgressing the words of his mouth. Ika smiley face. Regret and groaning should not be due to pain and suffering, rather for the sins that caused it. Regret and have genuine remorse before God. Then you know that the suffering that came from above was not for naught, and it accomplished its fitting task for your eternal benefit. This also comes by virtue of the righteous. He enlightens those close to him to realize that whatever happens in the world is only for good. Even pain, the main suffering is not the physical ache, but the sins that caused it. Notes for material needs. During the life of Moharanat, a renowned righteous one came to the city of Teplik. As usual, the inhabitants came for blessings. The whole night a river of Jews flowed through his doors. But see this wonder. All the requests turned in to him throughout the entire night were only for material matters, healing, success in business, etc. Not even one of them filed a spiritual request, such as that his heart should be with God, or that his heart should be with God, and the like. At the end, one of our people entered and gave him a note asking for fear of heaven. Who is this? Who gave this note in? Called that righteous one. The whole night such a request has not come to me. In practice, even though it is also necessary to ask for health and material salvation, at least add that we should be healthy and strong to do mitzvahs and good deeds and reach a good end. Talk 64. Draw in buckets and barrels. Rabbi Nachman writes, "Once I bemoaned my matters before him. I wailed, 'I am weary and calling. My throat is parched. My eyes go out with longing for my Lord.'" Tehillim smiley face. He raised his hands to me a little and said softly, "If so, what can be done? For it is certainly forbidden to suspect God, and certainly he is right." Afterwards he spoke up and said to me, "Behold, if David the king said, 'I am weary,' it means a thing." He had already called so much that he was actually tired and weary from it, and his throat was simply parched. But you, thank God, you are still in your strength, etc. Chaye Mocharan. Who truly knows the Rebbe? In order to fulfill the advice of the Rebbe, much strength and continuous renewal are necessary. Even when the Rebbe was alive, it was necessary to have strengthening to draw from his wellspring. Once Rabbi Nachman Tolchen, faithful disciple of Rabbi Nachman, was in rapture. He groaned in longing and yearning before Rabbi Nachman. "Ah, if I knew the Rebbe, if I only merited to this." Rabbi Nachman answered him from his own words, "Who is it that knows the Rebbe Yosel Frenik?" Yosel Pronik sustained himself by helping people pass over the bridge, from Lubrinis, from the shore of the big river Rebet, to the other side, close to Breslov. By way of this he was called Ketafel Sudten, Yosel Pronik, Ketafel Sudten. This Yosel merited to help the Rebbe traverse that bridge, and he boasted about it. About this Rabbi Nachman said to him, "Does Yosel Pronik know the Rebbe? You know the Rebbe." The main recognition of the Rebbe is not his face while he was alive. Rather, according to how one merits to recognize his holy mind and fulfill his holy advice. And this can also be after the Rebbe's demise. It comes out that there are people who never saw the Rebbe, yet they knew him better than those who actually saw him. In Uman, they would say, of Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman, that if he would have lived during the lifetime of the Rebbe, he would have been one of his prominent disciples. Rabbi Avraham was born in, some 38 years after the Rebbe left. Full handfuls. Rabbi Nachman Tolschener. Ah, who can possibly depict the great light drawn by Rabbi Nachman Tolschener? His son, Rabbi Avraham, would say, "Why did Rabbi Nachman take from the Rebbe such large portions? Because he looked at himself like a clump of mud and not more." And why was my father able to draw tremendous amounts from Rabbi Nachman? For that very same reason. He was in his own eyes a clump of mud and no more. Rabbi Levy Yishak concludes, "And I say, why did Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman, draw so much from his father Rabbi Nachman? Because he held himself a clump of mud." The humility of the holy pure. Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman. One who merited to know Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman, a clump of earth, a piece of mud, a real piece of dirt. From head to toe he was filled with humility and lowliness, a holy pure Jew, an extraordinary mind. Together with this, so meek and contrite. We never saw or found such a person. It is impossible to describe and imagine the humility and lowliness of that giant mind, the sublime Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman. The Gaon Rabbi Pinchas Spector of blessed memory told that he knew the Gaon Rabbi Shemael Zelikover, who was spiritual guide in the yeshiva of the sages of Lublin, of the Gaon Maharam Shapiro. He was known as a world-class genius. About the extraordinary genius of Rabbi Shemayala, I heard from his student, the Gaon Rabbi Shmuel Vosner of blessed memory of Bnei Brak. Once he met up with the Gaon Maharam Shapiro looking sad. The Maharam asked him, "Why are you not in a good mood?" He answered, simply that he has seen such and such like to prove to be in the past few weeks, knowing the entire Talmud, word for word, on the outlook of Rabbeinu Tam. Today he is no longer able to do this. So great was his genius, he also renowned for his holiness and humility. This Rabbi Shimon Zelikover knew that Rabbi Eichanan was connected to follower of Breslov. He said to him in inspiration, "I know one of you who was a Gaon in the revealed and hidden Torah," referring to Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman, working 60 years on lowliness. It is hard to imagine the modesty of Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman, a real clump of mud, nothing, actually nothing. Our people would say, if a person works for 60 consecutive years in Torah, it must be that he will become a real Gaon. If he works and toils for 60 years on lowliness, it must be that he will come out really humble, like Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman. A lad is recognized by his deeds. Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman, had an older sister by the name Rachel of blessed memory. She was renowned for her great righteousness and was nicknamed our mother Rachel, Ehechana Mafana Mechana. She told many things about the greatness of her brother. From her tremendous appreciation, she called him my Avrahamland. She related, when Rabbi Avraham was a small child, 6 years old, still in kindergarten, his father Rabbi Nachman was poor and destitute. Upon returning from school, after hours of not eating, he did not do like children his age and request food from his mother. Rather, he immediately stuck his head in the bookcase and started learning. Only when his mother called him to eat did he approach the table slowly, with manners to eat and appease his hunger. Who can describe the awesome devotions of Rabbi Avraham in his youth? His father realized awesome holiness of his son, said, "You are not connected to outside the land of Israel, you relate to the land of Israel. Outside is not able to bear your holiness. Receive from the Rebbe the path of wholesomeness." These geniuses, righteous people, giant minds, they all had outstanding wholesomeness in everything pertinent to the Rebbe's advice. Indeed, the main things we need to draw from the Rebbe are the traits of wholesomeness and simplicity. The Rebbe went to great lengths to speak of their high level and tremendous advantage. This means to practice his path without any sophistication, not to twist and mangle anything, only wholesomeness and simplicity. The entire path of the Rebbe depends upon this. The simpleton and the sophisticate, each one's life story. The entire path of the Rebbe is hidden in the story of the simpleton and the sophisticate. The Rebbe teaches us how it is possible to live our whole life in the way of the simpleton and thereby become the head minister. Opposed to this, how to live the life of the sophisticate and end up having to wander around by foot, a life filled with suffering. They relate, when Rabbi Abala told this story to the governor of Kiev, he said, "The type of life lived by the simpleton is better. It is better to live the life of a simpleton and always be happy than to live the life of a sophisticate filled with suffering. Fortunate is he who lives like the simpleton." Although there are awesome lofty depths in this story, but its practical lesson relates even to simple people like us. For the Rebbe speaks to great and small alike, even in the details of the story, to taste all types of food in a piece of bread. Just like in the manna bread, they tasted all kinds of food, to taste all kinds of liquids and water, just like in the well of Miriam. And so, by garments, the simpleton experienced in his simple coat all kinds of honorable clothes. And so was it by the clouds of glory, which came in the merit of Aharon. And so was Ain. This relates to each individual. Accustom yourself to be satisfied with everything the Holy One, blessed be He, gives you. Give thanks, for what God gives is through your prayer. Rejoice in this. Just like the simpleton, he asked for meat, they gave him bread, and he was happy with this. So is fitting. Ask everything from God and be happy with what He gives. We speak lofty words from the Rebbe, even though we are not holding by their level. Who is able to say that he draws from the Rebbe with buckets and barrels? Still, it is imperative to thank God that we do not, God forbid, oppose him, that we do not insult and rip his books. On the contrary, the books are precious and cherished in our eyes. Our people would say about the Rebbe's directive to always be happy. How is it possible to always be happy? We are full of falls, but in this it is certainly possible to always be happy, that we do not oppose, and his works are important to us, and we at least want to fulfill his advice, and we know that they are our entire ultimate goal forever. Talk 65. No good desire goes lost. Good desire is not lost. How much more so a good word? He said, something that should be known by one who is close to a true righteous person for many years and serves him and hears his words. He hears many talks and doesn't understand how they relate to him. Nevertheless, if he moves, as time goes on, he will grasp in retrospect how to extract from that he already heard great advice in serving God. Every single word heard many years ago will be of great benefit and enliven him, because afterwards he will understand and say, "This is what my master hinted to me at that time." Many wondrous hints and great advice will spread in his mind from all that he heard previously, if he pays attention well to past lessons. He told a story of a certain renowned righteous person. There was in his house a completely simple person who we called Breslov, simple person. Hey Allah, he served this righteous person. He heard many words from him and did not derive any benefit from them at all. But he had great faith in the righteous person and his holy words. Even though he did not properly grasp them, he still stood and attached to the righteous person in truth. Years later, the righteous person departed. Then this person began to remember. Whenever he came to some matter, he recalled the words of the righteous person and said to himself, "This is something that the righteous person had in mind and hinted to me then, and so many times." He retroactively grasped the intent of the righteous person and the illusion he hinted to many years ago. He understood and became a kosher, God-fearing person. He was very prominent in his city and became a leader for all who wanted to fear God. They were subject to him. Shaye Moharan. Every word makes an impression. This applies generally and specifically, mainly based on the concept mentioned about the talk of the righteous. Initially, the person did not understand what was being said. Only as time passed did he begin to fathom what each word meant. This also applies for each individual relative to himself. A person speaks words in secluded prayer. He talks and does not experience any benefit. Words repeat themselves without vitality and feeling. Nevertheless, don't let up. Continue talking. In the end, when you wake up, you will see that each word made an impression. How to break the heart of stone. The analogy is known about water dripping on a stone for many years. It is hard rock, but the water ends up making a hole. To the observer, it appears that the hole was made in one day, because yesterday it was not and today it is here. One who is unintelligent thinks that the whole thing was made today. But a smart person knows that a hole in a stone is not made in one day or one night. For years, water dripped on this stone, and every single day made some impression on it. Although every light impression is not at all apparent to the eye, each day's dripping did make some change in the stone. But when in the end the stone is opened and a hole breaks out in it, know that all of the days the water dripped on the stone joined. Only together were they able to penetrate it. The heart of a person is like a stone. It is hard like rock. It is necessary to lift the heart to the brain and soften it, but one does not feel any change. He talks and feels nothing. The heart is left a heart of stone, despite all of the words he poured forth day by day. but as time goes on, it will turn into a heart of flesh. If he doesn't let up, and doesn't get weary, and doesn't despair, and continues to talk. But certainly in one day the heart of hard stone is not transformed into a soft heart of flesh. When it does happen, one who is not smart thinks that it came through recent words said in inspiration, the proof being that yesterday no change had yet occurred, and suddenly today he sees that something happened. He thinks it depends on his last words. But it is not so. Not at all. In one day a heart of stone does not become a heart of flesh. Rather, all the words got together. No word was for naught. When the heart is opened, this was only because all of the words bubbled and did their job. Every bit of wanting and longing accrues. This concept does not only apply to words that no word goes lost and every single one makes an impression. Also, no desire is for naught. As it says in the Holy Zohar, there is no want that is lost. Even goodwill is never lost. But this requires fortification. I am not actually doing anything. What do I have from wanting? But this is not so. Even just a good desire, yearning for something holy endures. No desire is gone. It makes an impression. In the end, longing accumulates and accomplishes what has to when the day comes. How much more so words expressed by the mouth? They are certainly not for naught. They gather and act on His behalf when the time comes. I believe that God hears everything. But all this requires great faith, powerful and strong, to know clearly that there is nothing good that goes lost. Everything is heard on high. Everything is left forever. All of the great righteous people came to their level because of this faith. They believe that each word one speaks before God is never lost. No good desire for holiness and spirituality is ever gone. There is a statement from the Rebbe, even though I have not yet been saved, but this is my salvation, that at least God hears my voice when I pray to Him. I hold Him without letting go. This is great, amazing strengthening, that a person should never give up, never tire and despair from seeking. Rather, continue to supplicate even without seeing benefit. Remain steadfast in faith, and do not give up. Know surely that not only no word is lost, also no good desire is ever lost. However, to move this heart of stone and elevate it to the brain requires many words. And it certainly does not happen in one shot. Much time and many periods might have to pass until it will actually penetrate. Along the way, every single word makes an impression. Do not despair even when turned back. It could also be that a person not only feels no progress, but on the contrary feels further away. His heart is cold and frozen. Why continue to speak if he doesn't see improvement and even instead sees regression? And from some confusions and illusions continue to flood his brain like yesterday and the day before. At times they prevail until he falls completely back. The Rebbe writes that it is necessary to add holiness and knowledge to fix the fallen days. What holiness and knowledge? What did I add today more than yesterday? What adds today more than yesterday? Even after a year, is it better than last year? But really, it is indeed so. There is improvement, even if I don't notice it. In the end, at some time this will shine and become apparent to the naked eye. The blessed fruit of all his good yearning and words. Then it will be clear that not even one word was for naught, God forbid. He accomplished great things. The test of, I say that I worked for naught. We find in our sages about the holy Amora, Rabbi Abahu, that when he left this world, they showed him 13 rivers of pure balsam oil. He was astonished by this huge reward and said, "All this for Abahu? And I said that I am working for nothing." There are those who are not shown what they accomplished for a whole lifetime until the end. Even though some are shown right away, but for some this is their entire test. They never see any change. But one has to believe that there is nothing that goes for naught, despite that he doesn't see any progress until the last day. Even after all the mitzvahs and good deeds and good desires and words of a whole lifetime, this is his test. It is a difficult test that requires self-sacrifice to stand in. On the contrary, sometimes the evil inclination sees that a person means in truth and serves God even though he doesn't feel anything. It then leaves the rest of the world alone and turns only to him. It removes from him any taste and feeling in devotion and confuses his mind, saying that all of his words, desires, and doing are not worth anything. Through this, it is prone to make him fall completely, God forbid. Therefore, a person should know and carve in his heart that a big part of serving God is standing steadfast and constantly advancing even without any satisfaction or vigor in his service. A shoe of honey and sugar. In the story of the sophisticate and the simpleton, the quality of the simpleton was to always be happy with his portion. He was extraordinarily joyous over everything his hands made, even if it was improper. The Rebbe told what he expressed about the crooked shoe of 3 corners he made. It is a sweet shoe, a shoe of honey and sugar. It seems hard to fathom. How is it possible to say such things about a shoe, especially since it was defective? Based on what is known, that the 3-cornered shoe hints to prayer, the 3 daily prayers. These exaggerated expressions of sweetness and delight were said about prayer. The holy simpleton enlivened himself in his prayer. Despite that, it was not perfect. He was bubbling with intense delight, pleasure, and sweetness from it. He did not stop loving it until he said that it is sweet like honey and sugar. There is nothing as sweet as a pure mind. There is nothing as bitter as damaging the covenant. The Rebbe says in Likutei Moharan that when a person merits guarding the covenant, his prayer is in the aspect of sweet water, a prayer sweet like honey. For there is nothing as bitter as damaging the covenant, God forbid. But when a person merits guarding the covenant, it is good for him, it is sweet for him. His prayer is sweet as honey. Such a prayer contains holiness and purity. It is called by such terms of sweetness, even though it is not perfect. Despite its lack of vigor, for it is only like a 3-cornered shoe, but he worked to feel sweetness and was very happy and took delight over its essential intense pleasure. Uplifting, strengthening. What do we need to learn from the practice of the simpleton? How is this pertinent to us? This is how he merits to become minister. So does one merit to all of the good that the holy simpleton had. Only so when there is strengthening and vitality, even if our service is incomplete. The Rebbe said that he heard righteous people who testified that they did not reach their level except through strengthening. What comes out is that every word and good deed is important and excellent, but you have to believe this. To know well that indeed speech accomplishes wonders above, and there is no word that goes for naught. Even if at first it seems to do nothing, in the end all the words gather and accomplish great things. A person will merit to see with his eyes that he toiled not for naught. New face, after doing something holy. The holy righteous one, Rebbe Yebi of Alstra, Yebi the Great, was a disciple of the author of the Toldos Yaakov Yosef. Since his name was the same as his master, he nicknamed himself Yebi. He was always busy with loving kindness and charity. He would trouble himself to go on journeys. With tremendous toil, he attained funds to enliven the needy. Rabbi Yebi once required a certain amount for his needy people. He went around to get the sum, but he was not successful. In midst this, Rabbi Yebi did a certain mitzvah after he went around again. This time he was successful. Rabbi Yebi said that when he did the mitzvah, he received a new face. Therefore, they told this story to Moharanat while the talus was doubled over his shoulder ready to put on. He recited the blessing over it and unwrapped himself. He turned to those present and asked, "Nu, is it true that I now have a new face?" Before and after. Rabbi Nachman Tolchener testified about his master Moharanat that despite the fact that he was poor and destitute, when he was brought a sum of money, no change was visible on him. Usually by nature, a person who lives in constant poverty gets excited when given money, because this fills his lack. Whereas by Rabbi Nachman of blessed memory, no change was felt in his demeanor from the time he was in lack to after this. However, true change was noticed by Rabbi Nachman from before prayer to afterwards. Then he had a completely different face. But people such as us, what do we understand about the impression every good act we do makes? We have to be strong even if we do not see any change. At least believe that a tremendous impression is made by every positive deed or word, or even a good desire. There they do not grab places. It is imperative to know that only this world is the place of seeking and finding and gathering good. What you gathered here you will find there. But there, in the next world, it is impossible to look. It is impossible to find. The more you gather, the closer you are to God. According to what you accomplished here, so will you find your place there. The resting place in Garden of Eden is set exclusively according to what was prepared in this world. Each person gets the place he worked for. There, places cannot grabbed. How to prepare nice clothes in the next world. We find in the Zohar that Rebbe Abba, a main disciple of Rebbe Shimon, said that each person has a garment in the afterlife. A person sews this garment in this world through his intents, through good deeds and desires. When one comes to the next realm, they bring him a garment and say, "This is the garment you brought with you from the world. It is now impossible to change it in the least." When a person knows this, he automatically takes concern over the nature of his clothes, that they should be fine and fitting to his measure. He gathers here all kinds of precious stones and pearls to crown his attire and make it beautiful. Who can imagine the great shame and suffering over the loss when he receives a torn, worn-out garment? "Behold, I could have had much nicer clothes. Who stopped me?" All the things he didn't do in this world are a laughing stock. One meets up with friends crowned in such gorgeous, amazing attire that they have acquired for themselves through good deeds in this world. Whereas I have not such apparel. Why? Two friends who are similar. One goes in fine clothes, the other one, woe to him, woe to his soul. What an inferior garment he has. Good desire makes the most beautiful garment. So it says in the Holy Zohar, "A garment manufactured by good desires is better than what is made through acts." This lesson is a great wonder. How high and lofty is desire. This is the way to explain it. From where is made good desire? From action, from doing holy things. Desires made from acts are extremely high, for they are rooted in holiness. From where is desire fashioned? Learning, prayer, giving charity. One draws closer. The soul is decorated and good desire and will surge. The lesson comes to teach that action alone, not followed by desire for progress, does not suffice to attain praiseworthy garment. Always go with desire and longing for God. The Mishnah states, "Do His will like your own." When the Holy One, blessed be He, wants something, it has to be as if you want it yourself. It turns into your own will. You want nothing else except what He wants. If God wants, you also want. This is the perfection of a person and his life aspiration, to always have good desires, to always walk with yearning and longing for God. Take the Rebbe says about his righteous grandmother, Miss Udel, of blessed memory, daughter of the Baal Shem Tov. Because of this, the Baal Shem Tov especially appreciated her. She always went with a heart filled with longing for God. What can I do to fulfill His will and make Him pleasure? Is there anything in the world higher than when a person goes around with longing and yearning? I want and desire God. Constant connection to God through will. A person always wants something. Is it possible to be for a moment without desire? Thus, if one accustoms himself to positive desire, to only want good and the will of God, he is attached and bound to God every moment of his life. How good and pleasant is his portion. Happy and fortunate is his lot. What a nice clean garment awaits him in the world to come. After good years of good desire he went with his entire life. Through this he cleaved to God even while clothed in a physical body. He does the will of those who fear Him. How far goes the power of will? The Baal Shem Tov explains the verse. He does the will of those who fear Him. He hears their cry and saves them. Tehillim smiley face. The Holy One, blessed be, He always does the will of those who fear Him. But at times they want something that is not for their greater benefit. But He doesn't want to refuse them. he fulfills their desire, even if it is not in their best interest. Afterwards, when they see that it was not so good for them, they cry and scream to the Holy One, blessed be he to remove it. About this it says he hears and saves them. He saves from the problem that they were caught in by their will. This requires clarification. Why does God initially give them something that is not for their benefit? To teach the tremendous power of will, especially of righteous people. Through will, it is possible to draw such a thing that the Holy One, blessed be he, knows he will have to remove afterwards. Desire, like iron, can do anything. A person can draw with desire exactly what he wants. If he is only stubborn, he can even draw monetary flow and the like. On condition that his will is strong as iron. I want this. Similarly, and how much more so is it concerning everything that relates to Judaism. Be strong and powerful in will. I want this absolutely. God then helps, and his request is fulfilled. Will that nullifies all foreign desires. But the prerequisite is that it is such a strong desire that it subjugates and subdues other desires. Like the Tana says in the Mishnah, nullify your will to his will. When I want something, additional unwanted desires automatically sprout up. You have to then make your desire for God strongest. It should prevail, conquer, and nullify other desires. Service of righteous people and their ancient battle. This is the devotion of holy righteous people from antiquity. Through this all their opponents fall away. They have only one singular clear desire, the will of God, and nothing else whatsoever. Indeed, big righteous people attained this and turned all their aspiration exclusively to God. Desire of desires, for eternity. For example, we find by Moshe our Rebbe that he so much wanted and yearned with a burning desire for the land of Israel, until due to so much longing, his soul flew away from him and departed from this world. Therefore, the time of the departing of Moshe our Rebbe, which was on the Holy Shabbos towards the end, is called Desire of Desires. The whole period transformed forever into being a time of desire, of desires. So great is the strong, pure desire of the righteous. The desire of righteous people is to depart by the mouth of God, Bamidbar smiley face, which is in the category of kisses, meaning that they reach such desire to cling to God in supernal delight that they leave the world. Their heart craves this. As brought by Moshe our Rebbe, he yearned for that type of death, having seen it by Aharon the priest, of whom it says, by the mouth of God, death by kiss, through cleaving in desire of desires. This is what Shlomo the king asked. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Sure, smiley face. Such a lofty desire. For the aspect of kisses, like there was by the giving of the Torah. Due to so much desire and longing their souls left them, as brought in our sages, let him kiss. To again merit that cleaving by the giving of the Torah, as is the cleaving found by righteous people in all generations, yearning like is above speech. On the contrary, speech disturbs this cleaving. True supernal desire is higher than the power of speech. It is called what? Included in nothingness. As the Rebbe goes at length to rave over in Likutei Moharan when telling about the greatness of Moshe our Rebbe, who reached the highest levels of will, desire of desires. At least speak of such desire. We are far from such things. But certainly by just repeating the words of the Rebbe with longing to fulfill them, we come closer. Stand and serve the righteous. To stand and serve the righteous, so is said in the aforementioned talk. How can people such as us serve the righteous? When we serve to glorify the matter of the righteous, that, God forbid, no dishonor should come out, God forbid. For if, God forbid, one of our people goes out of line, it affects the Rebbe, because what do people say? This is Breslov. May we be close to the righteous and want to be baked in his heart, at least to want this. Like the Rebbe said to his faithful disciples Rabbi Nachman and Rabbi Naphtali, I want that you should be from the followers who are baked in my heart. A student who flies in the air. In the lesson that concludes the second volume of Likutei Moharan, the Rebbe explains a known teaching. Letter Lamed is like a tower that flies in the air and hints to the disciple. Due to great longing and yearning, the heart of the disciple as if flies in the air to hear the words that the righteous speaks. His heart flies and soars in the air. A sort of self-sacrifice, divest of physicality, nullification of the senses, desire, and going out of soul without limit that the words of the righteous should come inside. Rabbi Nachman was such a disciple. Nullify his desire for our sake. Indeed, from this student is left all that we have here. After the Rebbe's demise, Rabbi Nachman left his own desire and fulfilled, nullify your will before his will. God did a great loving kindness with us. After the Rebbe left, a thought sparked in the mind of Rabbi Nachman to abandon everything and give himself completely over to serving God alone. By his mercy upon us, God aroused him to nullify his will before this desire of revealing the light of the righteous in the world. Whereas had Rabbi Nachman been left in his original desire, he would have been just another righteous person in the world, just as there are many righteous people. But what would have been with us? Roar like lions. The Rebbe said to his disciples, I did not have this in mind. I thought that you would go in strong desire, in longing and yearning, roaring like lions. I did not mean this. Rabbi Avraham, son of Rabbi Nachman, would say that even though such people were not by the Rebbe, there were such people by Rabbi Nachman, people filled with desire and will who roared to God like bears of the field. Complete nights like days they roared in such yearning that is impossible to imagine. So said Rabbi Nachman that a table of those who have such desire and longing was not even found by the Rebbe. By him were found people who the Rebbe wanted but were not. So said the righteous Yudel, daughter of the Rebbe, to Rabbi Nachman, Indeed it is so that your table is great, but only by virtue of the power of Father, our Rebbe, the Holy One. Only by his power is it possible to reach such lofty high desire and longing, as we already merited to see with our eyes.